Hey everyone, this is MNL2, and today in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at some of my all-time least favorite roller coasters that I have ever ridden. Now before I go on at all, I'm just going to give out a fair disclaimer for everyone watching. This video might be seen as negative or controversial, or just a rant of hatred. If you don't think you can handle someone talking badly about certain roller coasters, then I wouldn't watch this video. That aside, I feel like no matter how much you consider yourself a coaster enthusiast or part of the general public, everyone has a sour spot for certain coasters. Not everyone is going to absolutely love every single amusement ride they ever experience, and naturally, some roller coasters are just straight up terrible. Now me personally, when I look at every single coaster I've ever been on, there's honestly not very many that I would consider atrocious or worth being called an awful coaster. However, there are still just a select few that I would think would be better off demolished or replaced, and those are the coasters that I'm going to be talking about in this video. One final thing, I just want to say that I'm really only going to be including thrill rides or larger coasters that are intended for thrill seekers. Obviously, some of these coasters are still more enjoyable than like those teeny tiny kiddie coasters that you'll find at FECs, but kiddie coasters and very small family coasters aren't intended to attract thrill seekers or adrenaline junkies, and so therefore I won't be taking them into consideration. With all that out of the way, let the fun begin. So I hate to start this video off with a coaster from my home park, but first up, we've got Pony Express at Knott's Berry Farm. I also hate to include this coaster because I know I literally just explained how I don't want to include family coasters and whatnot, but I feel like this coaster is far enough on the thrill side of things to be considered as like a big boy ride. But even as a family coaster, this thing manages to fail terribly. I'll admit that it has a decent-ish launch, but like, that's literally all it has to offer. Like, if you're gonna build a coaster that literally just launches and turns around, that launch better be one of the best sensations ever, and that turnaround also better be freaking incredible. Also, I love how I'm referencing Dragster right now. Rest in peace. When Knott's literally has another coaster that also fits this definition perfectly. Aside from the pointless, forceless, and completely uneventful layout, this ride also features one of those awkward and uncomfortable seating positions and restraints ever. I'd much rather sit on an actual horse than ride this literal one-trick pony. Anyways, Zamperla should really just stick to making kiddie rides instead. Gemini at Cedar Point is honestly a pretty cool looking attraction and has some appeals to it. Guaranteed racing? Check. Impressive-ish looking ride structure? Check. Plasters you with bugs? Check. Okay, I don't want to actually take the bug thing into consideration, but this ride literally bored me to death and made my lower body very uncomfortable. Heck, even my upper body too. Like, my back and neck were not happy with this experience at all. I'm gonna state this multiple times in this video, but I honestly don't mind a coaster if it is a bit rough or jolty as long as it offers forces that are really fun or exciting. Gemini has none of that. No laterals, no airtime, no positives, just bumpiness and regret. Aerodynamics has made some notable attractions, and though I'm sure Gemini has historic value and means a lot to Cedar Point's history, it definitely does not mean a lot to me. So like I just mentioned, I don't mind rides if they are rough or jolty as long as they are fun and exciting. The best example that comes to my mind is Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Very intense, relentless, and an enjoyable coaster aside from its jankiness. Anaconda at King's Dominion, however, doesn't have much to offer. It's got a cool first drop into that tunnel, but like the entire rest of the ride is just so bland and uneventful. I literally zoned out while riding it. It's an aero looper, so of course it's not going to be super smooth either, so that really wasn't helping with things. Overall, I don't want to say I hate this coaster, but I don't particularly love it either. I generally love aero loopers, and the majority of the ones I've ridden are really good, but unfortunately Anaconda is not one of those, and also unfortunately not the last aero looper to appear on this list. So Grizzly at California's Great America is just such a meme of a coaster. Like, it's just so bad that it's good. The ride layout is just so bland with literally no forces at all, aside from one sharp moment of uncomfortable laterals. You aren't gonna get any airtime.
Yeah, airtime! Never mind, no airtime whatsoever.
No positives, and no sustained laterals. All you're gonna get is some scoliosis along with some justification with Cedar Fair's decision to tear down this whole park. I had hope for RMC Grizzly, but with CGA on its deathbed already, I don't see it happening. Just like I was saying earlier, this coaster is so pointless that my friends and I just meme about riding it. Like, come on, it's the Grizzly. Not to be confused with the Grizzly at King's Dominion. I actually liked that one. But riding CGA's Grizzly just makes me sit there and ponder all of my life decisions and literally makes me question the meaning of my own existence. Yeah, not exactly the excitement and adrenaline that roller coasters are designed to deliver. Fortunately, this will be the last aero coaster on this list. Unfortunately, it was the one I don't care for in the slightest. Not gonna lie, I originally thought the exact same about Demon at CJ after my very first ride, so maybe I just need more rides on Carolina Cyclone to change my mind, especially since it has a layout that's very similar to Demon. But since I've only been on it once, and I kinda hated it, here we are talking about it. So this coaster was, to me, a bit rougher than most other aero loopers, and the loops didn't feel very forceful, just underwhelming. The corkscrews were kinda there, and didn't give any hang time, nor did it snap through them like on Canyon Blaster. The final helix was just so awkward and not executed very comfortably. Laterals on an aero looper are not the way to go at all. But hey, at least it ended up having more sustained laterals than Ghost Rider. And for the record, no, Ghost Rider is not going to be on this list. I don't hate it. I just hate the thought that people think it's elite. Anyways, Carolina Cyclone is just very lame, not very fun, and pretty uncomfortable. So this is probably the only coaster on this list I have nothing bad to say about in terms of comfort or smoothness. In fact, Patriot at California's Great America is actually one of the smoothest B&Ms out there, but it turns out that it's not always roughness or a painful ride experience that can make a coaster suck. In Patriot's case, it's just the sheer lack of literally anything eventful or exciting. This coaster doesn't provoke a single emotion aside from despair and depression while riding it. I've literally felt like I've wasted my time every single time I've ridden this coaster, and yet I've never waited more than like 10 minutes for it. Should have been less than 5 minutes, but no offense, CGA, y'all gotta work on your efficiency. Anyways, Patriot is just so incredibly boring, and I just don't get any enjoyment out of riding it, especially since this ride has nothing at all special or unique to offer. Every other floorless coaster in existence has the same elements as Patriot plus more. A lot of them are just as smooth too. Patriot was probably much better off as a stand-up. I've even done Vortex at Carowinds, which is very similar to the former Vortex at CGA, and I think the stand-up position made the ride experience much more interesting. Vekoma Boomerangs are fun coasters. I freaking loved Deja Vu at Magic Mountain, and I thoroughly enjoyed Vertigo at Kings Island. Even Knott's old Boomerang wasn't too bad, and the same can be said about Carowinds and Hershey Park's Boomerangs as well. But when it comes to Boomerang Coast to Coaster at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, I can't even begin to comprehend how much of a disaster this ride is. There's very few coasters out there that I'd consider so rough and painful to where I think the ride is just a complete waste of space. I don't know what Six Flags is doing in terms of maintaining this abysmal roller coaster, but I wouldn't shed half a tear if this thing received the same fate as SoCal's Vekoma Boomerangs did. If you're a frequent viewer of my channel, then this coaster being on this list should come to absolutely no surprise. Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the absolute worst roller coasters I have ever ridden. I poke fun at it and take shots at this ride all the time, and a lot of you question why I hate this ride so much, and so if this video was sent to you in response to your question, well, here's your answer. Goliath is a hypercoaster, which is a coaster taller than 200 feet and generally features a lift hill and no inversions. While Goliath meets all of that criteria, it does absolutely nothing with these statistics. Any drop on a roller coaster over 200 feet should generally be outstanding, but with Goliath, not only is this drop shallower than a canceled TikToker's apology video, but the crest of this drop is just so wide and you crawl over so slowly. I'm pretty sure the reason it does this is to build anticipation for the drop, but from my perspective, it honestly just ruins the potential airtime or regression you could get from this drop. Even in the very back seat, you don't get the slightest bit of airtime going over that drop, and you descend at such a shallow angle, a 61-degree drop. At this point, you're just going down a ramp on a bicycle. On top of this, you accelerate so slowly since you not only crawled at a snail's pace over the drop, but this shallow angle drop causes you to pick up speed so gradually. Literally, the pair of 100-foot drops right next to it managed to be infinitely better by literally just being steeper. Any B&M or Intamin Hyper or Giga will have a much better first drop because of the crest and the steepness. Heck, even Aero and Morgan Hypers do a better job at this. So after the waste of a first drop comes an admittedly cool head chopper, followed by a very pointless turnaround that manages to not deliver airtime, laterals, or positives. You're just changing direction. After another disappointing drop, you go into the infamous airtimeless Camelback. This is the only element on this coaster that was designed to deliver airtime, and it manages to fail at its one and only job. You can argue as much as you want that, oh yeah, you get a little bit of floater. Bro, Twisted Colossus neighbors Goliath. Wonder Woman Flight of Courage is in the same park. Heck, even Viper's Pop into the mid-course delivers better airtime. I'll even argue that of all rides, Ghost Rider has a way better Camelback than Goliath. And I'm not even going to bother bringing up all the B&M Hypers or RMCs or Intamins or any other airtime delivering coasters. So next, you'll turn around and immediately slam into the brake run to a near dead stop. Let me remind you that at this point in the ride, you have experienced 3 elements: a weak drop, a useless turnaround, and a depressing airtime hill. This is a 255-foot, 85-mile-an-hour hypercoaster, by the way. Finally, the rest of this ride can be described as discomfort and displeasure. I don't really mind small chunks of extreme positive G-forces like on B&M inverts, but when you have an entire ride section dedicated to plastering your body with uncomfortably high levels of sustained positive G-forces, I don't find it to be enjoyable at all. Even if you claim you don't gray out during Goliath spaghetti bowl helixes, just the constant pressure and inability to move much or even breathe comfortably just makes this section so unenjoyable and unpleasant. It's not even that it's not fun, it's just dreadful. This section of the ride is so uncomfortable and I ache for it to end when I'm riding it. After this bone-crushing, brain-draining section, you slam into the final brake run and it's now over. I'm not even going to recap this ride experience. One, because I've already spent way too long talking about this ride, and two, it's not worth my time anymore. Frick Goliath, the most trash and awful roller coaster in the entire state of California. So as much as I hate Goliath, at the very least, Goliath for the most part won't give me brain-damaging concussions or migraines. The same cannot be said about these next two coasters. Now, to be fair, Wildcat at Hershey Park has already permanently closed and is in the process of being RMC'd, so thank the lords above for that, as this coaster desperately needed it. I'll give it some credit as it was GCI's first creation, and they've come a long way since, but man, this ride is awful. I think I mentioned this earlier, but basically, I don't mind a rough and semi-painful coaster as long as it makes up for the roughness with some good forces or enjoyable ride experience. Wildcat, unfortunately, has none of that. I didn't feel any laterals, any airtime, any interesting twists or turns, no positives either. It literally just felt like I was being shaken up in a human blender. I don't have a single fond memory from riding this coaster. Not a single element on this thing stood out to me. Every second of this ride between dropping off the lift to hitting that final brake run felt like pure torture, and I was begging for it to be over. It was a strange combination of jackhammering and lateral pinballing, causing every bone in my body to jam into various parts of the ride vehicle. When it comes to painful coasters, this was one of the top contenders. At this point in the video, you're probably wondering how could it possibly get any worse? Well, my friends, let's head on down to Orlando, Florida to find out. Oh my contriver. Mindblower at FunSpot Kissimmee wins the award for being the worst possible roller coaster I have ever decided to experience. Initially, this ride was pretty high on my bucket list as I really wanted to ride a wooden roller coaster that goes upside down. Now, whether it's because it's being operated and maintained by a sketchy roadside carnival looking scheme park, or because this ride was jerry-rigged and appeared as if it was constructed from PVC pipe held together by flex tape, this ride was just awful in every way imaginable. Just like Wildcat, this coaster beats you up from beginning to end, offering no mercy at any point. What makes Mindblower even worse than Wildcat is the awful profiling, as this coaster dares to attempt higher bank turns and even an inversion. And well, when a coaster is running with square wheels on rocks, high banked turns and inversion and attempts at airtime hills and tight maneuvers just don't work at all. This coaster is the opposite of graceful and can better be described as jerky, jolty, and janky. I do plan on returning to Orlando soon-ish, but never again will I ever willingly choose to ride this roller coaster unless Mr. Beast is there offering me thousands of dollars to do it. Even then, I would still hesitate, as I believe that Mindblower at FunSpot Kissimmee is the absolute worst roller coaster I have ever been on. So anyways, thank you for watching this video. Keep in mind that this list is solely based on my own personal opinions, and I fully understand that some of you may completely disagree with anything or literally everything on this list. So if that's the case, then feel free to comment down below what your absolute least favorite roller coaster of all time is. But anyways, if you did end up enjoying the video, then please remember to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you will be alerted whenever I upload a new video. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.